This is Blue July, and you're listening to the Be Someone podcast. Lights looking bright, the H got the vibe. See my name on the signs, it's my time to shine. When I was cruising 45, and it crossed my mind that I shine like the sun and that I'll be someone.
Hey, welcome everyone to the Be Someone podcast. This is your host, Coach Chris Ortiz, and today we're joined by the man in the black halo, the man tearing up the Indies. 836 day, I think, title reign for New Texas Pro. Just killing it. So how are you doing? And thank you for joining us on the show.
Man, thank you for having me. First off, it's glad to see you again, dog. And I'm doing great, man. Life is great. Like you said, 836 day reign is New Texas Pro. All good things must come to an end. But, New Texas is a beautiful place. Texas Indies are a beautiful place right now. Everything's thriving. I was thriving, so couldn't be better right now, man.
Oh, yeah. And you were at the center. You were the centerpiece for a little bit, and it's really nice to see. And one of the things that I mentioned to you upon you walking in, it's like, you look good, man. You look happy. You look relaxed, man. You got that orange energy right now.
Thank you.
Man, like, what's going on, man? What's so good about life right now?
I'm enjoying myself, man. I'm happy. I've always wanted to wrestle since I was 8 years old? Like, that was what I was set on, was professional wrestling. I'm going to grow up and I'm going to be a professional wrestler. And right now, I am doing it, actively doing it, making great money doing it, taking care of my family doing it. And I feel like that's the difference. I'm able to see what I wanted to do, follow through with it, and progress and do better and better. So I'm getting happier and happier.
Yeah, let's give a little history lesson, man. Let's talk about, back in the day when you were coming up, who were you wrestling with in the backyard? Or where did this dream start with?
That's with Vega, man. Yeah, I met Javier Vega when I was 11 years old in Greens Point. And I grew up nothing but sisters, didn't have a little brother, so I was always alone, playing video games or something. And here he goes. He moved maybe 3 houses down from me. What initially brought us together was Yu-Gi-Oh cards. We used to play Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I hung out at his house and found out he liked wrestling. And I was like, well, I like wrestling. And then, of course, before I met him, I was a fan of wrestling through my uncles who got me introduced with wrestling and stuff like that. But mutually, we had that interest, and we just continued on. I honestly remember being 11 or 12, sketching attires, freaking gimmicks, entrance gear, all this, being on Vega's floor, being like, oh, this is what we're gonna wear, or this is what we're gonna do. And it's crazy, man. He's still wrestling too. We're still both going at it, doing it, going strong. And it's been a blessing, an honor to just follow through with everything and still be able to know the people that I started with and grow with the people I started with and just continue the success. So
what was those early art pieces? What was the original gimmick? I mean, was it always the cowboy? No.
It was Joey Showtime was my first my first wrestling name, I guess, or persona. And I was like, ain't no time like Showtime. And I used to come out and, man, I had honestly just basketball shorts and no shirt. Not even any shoes. I was speedball before speedball was doing speedball. But nowhere near the work rate, that's for sure. But I had no shoes on. We're in a grass lot in Greens Point. We're charging kids $5 to come watch us wrestle every Friday after school and stuff like that. Yeah, so
a little promotion going.
Yeah, right. It was called ODW, Original Destructive Wrestling, and we made it together and we charged people to come watch us wrestle and stuff. And I remember stealing the picket fences off the back of houses, and we'd take them and lay them in chairs and make tables to slam each other through, and getting just random stuff throughout the neighborhood to hit each other with. And it was crazy, man. Still to this day, we're beating the crap out of each other. So
how cool is it to see a childhood dream come to fruition? You're doing well right now. You're doing very well. You're actually living your dream, which very few people, have an opportunity to say. Most people are, doing something that they don't necessarily like or love, and they're not happy, right? But you're doing what you dreamed about, man. What does that do to your heart? What does that do for you?
Honestly, it makes me proud because every job that I ever had, I always knew, okay, this doesn't really make me as happy as professional wrestling does. The only other job I've had that made me super happy was working at Hot Topic. I was a manager at Hot Topic. And if I wasn't a wrestler, I'd probably be doing that because that job was amazing. But every job that I've had, it was always like just wouldn't scratch that itch. First thing I think about when I wake up is professional wrestling. Last thing I'm thinking about whenever I go to sleep is professional wrestling. So it just never, if it wasn't wrestling, it wasn't working for me. And I always like tried to find jobs that could help me go towards wrestling, like work with the hours. Or that's why I had to quit being a manager at Hot Topic, because they needed me for weekends because it's retail. And I
Yeah.
was like, well, I got to make these towns, man. I got to be out here, grinding, going city to city, state to state, trying to see what matches I could get. And I always knew in my heart that I wanted to be a professional wrestler since I was 8 years old. And to just constantly pursue it and know that I was going to have to do whatever it takes for it to make it happen myself. My parents always raised me to never be like, okay, well, never wait on anybody to give you anything or help you with anything. Not because, you just can't count on people sometimes. And you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket on somebody and then have certain feelings towards someone if they don't fall through. And it's like, if you can work your hardest yourself and put it all on you, then you have nobody to blame but you at the end of the day when you can't do it or when you can do it. So like I was just relentless, didn't stop. I was like, well, what job can I get to be able to wrestle? And now, thank God, the job that I got that allows me to wrestle is wrestling. So, I just stuck with that. And
Were there any times like where you started doubting this wrestling thing, or like the whole time you're like, nah, man, this is gonna work. This is gonna work. I know it's gonna work.
yeah, like I'd say like I got out of high school and then I went to wrestling school and I was going to college at the same time. And that was difficult, just trying to juggle that, having a regular job to feed all of this and have college and have wrestling practice and events to go to. It was kind of hard to juggle, and then having kids and being like, a dad, full dad that's like, I have responsibilities. Things are expected of me to provide. And, wrestling ain't always providing that money or that time and things like that. So there's a lot of times when I was just like, man, I might just have to hang it up. Even recently, like literally before these things started popping off for me, like maybe like 3 years or so going into COVID, I
Yeah.
was like, man, wrestling's not paying my bills. My bills are stacking up. I
Yeah.
got people to provide for, and it's like at the end of the day, I got to do what's right for them, not for me. So I was like, okay, well, maybe we could just put wrestling on the back burner for a little bit. I give me a job that allowed me to be able to supply all that and things. But once I had the jobs, I was never satisfied. I was always there. I would be literally angry at the job the whole time. Like, man, I can't be doing it. This doesn't even interest me. I'm not even, I would still put my all into it because that's the
Of
person
course.
I am. Like, okay, I have a job, I'm gonna do that job to the fullest ability and make sure you're happy as the boss. Whatever customers we got, they're gonna be happy, and I'm gonna go home, and that's gonna be it. But I just knew it wasn't wrestling, and it wasn't making me happy inside. So
And that transfers over to your family too. It's like you
yeah,
come home and and you don't feel fulfilled, and
uh-huh.
you're not happy, and then you're it's not what's best for the kids and the wife.
Yeah,
Like there's
definitely,
something like feeding that spirit, feeding that dream,
uh-huh.
just makes you a better person.
It does, and I feel like it's a good example for them to
Yes.
see me following my dream and working as hard as I can to do something, because I don't have like no PR or no merch guy, or I have people I work with as far as helping me out, but everything I do it all. I control everything and things like that. So I feel like it's a good example to them. Is like, okay, find out what it is that you enjoy in your life, and as long as you're working your hardest at it, honestly, all the time, it's gonna be some progression, and that's all you got to worry about is the progression. It's gonna take a while. A lot of people, they just want things to happen overnight, or they're
Ain't
just
how it
like, oh,
happens.
it's why doesn't it happen? I'm gonna quit now, and it's like, why you gonna quit now? You can gave all the years, investment, time, money, energy. You might as well just stick to it and just continue to work the hardest you can. And a lot of the times I had to look at myself in the mirror and was like, well, maybe it's not popping off for you because you're not truly giving it your all. It takes a lot to do that. Some people can't humble themselves and be like, okay, well, I'm not working my hardest, or there's something I could change about myself, or there's something I need to do better. And like, thank God my parents raised me to always be like that, to just be like,
Hell of a job.
there's nothing wrong with you, son. You're the perfect son. Like, they never raised me to think I was just the perfect human being, that nothing was ever wrong with me. They're always like, there's things you can work at to be better. If I got an A, but it was a low A, they were like, well, why didn't you get 100?
Mm.
Like, yeah, you could be happy with a 92, but there's some questions you still missed. Why? So just instilling that in me in a young age and allowing me to have that hard working spirit, I feel like is what, just drives all of this going.
Well, you talked about there being a moment, like right around COVID or pre-COVID. Like,
Uh-huh.
what was the spark that kind of started this ball of momentum? Because ever since then, man, like
Yeah.
you've been hot, man. You've
Thank
been
you.
on fire, man.
Thank
And
you.
not only like does the city love and embrace you and push you, man,
Uh-huh.
but it's national.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
What was that spark, that catalyst that lets you say, like, you know what, I'm gonna keep punching. I'm gonna keep putting one foot in front of the other.
I'll say it was like I was at Reality of Wrestling, and I still was wrestling with the button down and the tights, long tights, and everything, and the hat. And I was like, man, I need to switch it up. I'm getting like a good reaction and everything, but I'm not really getting out. I'm not really making good money wrestling. I just felt like I wanted to try something new and just be different. And then at the same time, when I was working in reality wrestling there, New Texas was starting up, and they asked me to come through and wrestle for them. And at New Texas, it's not like at reality of wrestling. Of course, you're wrestling for Booker T, so you're under the tutelage, under the eye of Booker T. Of course, you're gonna do what is for his show, what is best for his show, and things like that. And then at New Texas, it was just an opportunity for me to try new things, for me to just be different, or at least if I was gonna fail, I was gonna fail on Booker T's, nationally televised show, embarrassing myself or anything like that. So I started working with New Texas Pro, and I was like, man, let me just change up the look a little bit. Let me change up the wrestling style. It really started with me going. I was gonna drop the whole bounty hunter thing, period, and just come out wrestling black tights, black trunks, black boots, like Japanese style, like young boy style, like
Hmm.
just the roots of just professional
It's
wrestling.
real
Bryan
basic
Keith,
gear.
super basic, just trying to be fundamentally myself and things. And then I did that at New Texas Pro. That kind of worked a little bit. And then I was like, okay, well, I do look more like a wrestler now, but what's gonna make me look more like a bounty hunter? And then I have influenced by, of course, Undertaker and Shinya Hashimoto. He's like a professional wrestler from Japan. They all wear the high waisted pants. So I
Hmm.
was like, well, I'm heavily influenced by Japanese wrestling, so let's try that. Tried that, kept the poncho, and then the whole thing happened with Swisher House getting sponsored by Swisher House almost at the same time. I started using steel tipping, and then I feel like it just all started meshing together. I started getting more momentum at New Texas Pro, and then COVID happened. And in Texas, it's almost as if COVID never happened. We were
We
still
kept
operating
going.
like like it never happened. But everyone else around the states, they were shut down. They weren't doing anything. So as far as like wrestling goes, a lot of these guys were getting ring rust or just not wrestling at all. So they weren't coming out of COVID. They weren't really ready, or they weren't really like taking bookings like that because everybody had to get their feet back under them. But a guy named Mouse from Big Stark's brand, he came to a New Texas show after COVID and saw me wrestle and was like, man, who is this brother with this poncho coming out still tipping? Like, who is this random guy? I don't know who the heck he is. And he got me a booking. He got me 2 bookings that WrestleMania Tampa booking weekend. It was my first.
Was that for the culture?
Yeah, it was for the culture. And it was he got me another one, which was with IWTV, which is crazy because for the culture is GCW. So this is a huge, as far as independent wrestling goes, the eyes are all on GCW always, all the time, and
Mhm.
IWTV. IWTV is the independent wrestling TV network where all of,
It's where you go
I'm
to
on,
watch
New
indie
Texas Pro
stars.
is, all that, everything. So those were the 2 bookings I got that Tampa WrestleMania weekend. And previously, before this, I'm like, what, 11 years in my career, hadn't had a WrestleMania weekend ever. Never was even flown out for a WrestleMania weekend or even drove out to one. So got these 2 bookings, made it out there, did super well during those 2 matches, and then ever since then I've been booked every weekend, and it's like I'm glad it happened the way it was, because if I was younger and not prepared, who knows what could have happened with those 2 matches.
Yeah.
But I literally waited my whole life just to have those 2 matches, and everything that I learned in or everything that I've learned up to that 10 years was put to the test in those 2 matches, and I was able to just pull things out of my car, like a toolbox. Literally, that's what Booker says. Is like, as a wrestler, you got a playbook or a toolbox, and you're using these things. And it didn't dawn on me until that moment. Literally that weekend, I was, everything that I learned up there was just using everything, and I stood out so much more because a lot of the guys on the independent level don't have that tutelage. They don't have that knowledge or accessible knowledge like I got with Booker T.
Yes.
So I felt like it was just like destined for me to succeed, really, because I had 2 matches. It wasn't really that hard of a work, but being prepared and being able to knock it out the park both times, everybody was like, "Well, who the heck is this dude coming out of nowhere? Not only having a badass match, but has a nice look,
Yeah.
freaking
Music's banging.
music's banging, the whole atmosphere just popping." So it's like I really just made waves that first Tampa weekend, and just ever since then I've been booked.
Would you say like you've just taken you and dialed it up to level 10 with this
Definitely.
character and the music?
Definitely. It's the H Town vibe, because the grittiness of just not even just H Town, just Texas. Period. The Texas grittiness of just how proud we are, how hardworking we are, and then mixing that with like the influence of the Japanese culture and the Japanese wrestling style, and then also like when I was working at Hot Topic, I was a fan of like metal music. So like the intensity of like the metal music that I would have, I take that and put that in there, and then mix in the Houston culture. Being sponsored by Swisher House, I was able to just
Got the grill working.
everything, ear to the streets, allowing the people to just come in and feel. I'd like to say it is like, if you want Houston, Texas on your wrestling show, or if you want Texas represented well on your wrestling show, you gonna book the Bounty Hunter Bryan Keith. And that's the package I was like selling towards people, is like, it's really Texas, but it's more, because I'm adding in the Japanese influence and all these other metal influences and stuff like that. But that's, once I figured out what I was trying to present to people,
Yeah.
it was a lot easier to just get things going for me.
And that's when people, typically take off, right? It's like when they take themselves, they find a way to blend it, meld it, and then turn it up to 10. I've heard Stone Cold Steve Austin,
Yep.
Talk about that, like being put in a box and tried to be pushed to be this character, but it's like, hey, when I got to shave my head, I got to be, the Texas Rattlesnake, and got to embrace, who I am, and just turn the volume up on that son of a bitch. Like,
Yeah.
that's whenever I really took off. And that's what it sounds like, for you. It's like you got to be you.
Yeah.
Even though, you were given this wonderful foundation from Book over there, Reality of Wrestling, but it's like now you got a little bit of creative freedom, and now like the Bounty Hunter can be born in his vision.
And here I am, even at Booker still, like they're I'm happy that they didn't feel no way about me leaving, going out, because that's what it's there for. A lot of people take it as
it's a springboard, right?
That's exactly what it is. You go there, you learn, you get the tools, then you go and you use the tools. And then you're allowed to come back. They still allow me to come back. Here I am, one of the head trainers there at Reality Wrestling, and I'm able to teach the younger guys now. Like, you just take the tools that you have here and you use them out other places, and you become a star other places, but you always come back and bring it back. And I think it's just cool for me to be the bounty hunter that I am, that I created, and for Booker to respect that and be like, let's still continue to do work with you and stuff like that. Not only continue to do work with me, I'm now shaping the next generation of reality wrestling stars.
Yeah,
the star that I was once wanting to be at reality wrestling. So it's a pleasure, man. It's crazy.
What is probably like the most valuable lesson that you got coming out of that wrestling school? Because that's one of the best spots over here.
Yeah,
in the
definitely.
Southern United States.
I'd say I tell everybody the greatest advice. Well, maybe because he tells it to me all the time, or I hear it all the time. But the greatest thing I always remember Booker telling me was, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Literally, if you're ready all the time, if you're ready to go all the time, opportunities come and go in wrestling all the time. And it's true, like things happen, things get given, and things get taken away just as they get given. And it's like, I'll give you an example. The opportunity I had with TJP was working with TJ Perkins. I was working with him with the WWE thing, and he did the promo where he was like beating me down, but he was like on the mic while he was beating me down. It was like a legendary promo for him, because he was like, it was his idea, and he was able to get it across, and it's never really been done where somebody's been shooting a promo while they're beating a guy down in the middle of a match. And that day, I wasn't picked to be that guy for that role. It was actually somebody else, but that guy was already in the Cruiserweight Classic, so they used him, and they just didn't want him to be seen in that light because he was already in the tournament.
Yeah,
and I'm peeping this from like far away, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess they're not using him. And I just run up and like, hey man, I could be, please use me. I'm here. I'm ready to work. And it ended up happening. And that was like a springboard also for me to just get my career going before I found out who I was with this bounty hunter character. But just being able to have that hindsight to be like, okay, well, I offered my services, hey, I'll be willing to do this opportunity for you. And then just remembering everything that Booker told us up to that point, as far as like, being coachable, listening, Um, literally, they picked another guy to be in that position, but since he wasn't there, I offered myself, and I was able to be in that position now and just knock it out of the park. And I'm like, okay, well, what if I was injured, or what if I was like just not in the right mindset to just offer myself? Like I was happy enough that I was just ready enough to just whatever they needed from me, I was gonna do that and more. So it's moments like that. It's like you just got to make sure you're ready all the time because you never really know what could happen. Opportunities all around you.
That's like reason like number 5,000, to get you signed by, one of the big time companies because you're ready and you're willing and you're
All the
able,
time.
man. And you're a team player and, you want to do what's best for business, whether it's to help someone else blow up or, just take it as an opportunity for yourself. Like you respect the game.
Yeah.
And that's real nice, man. I'm going to also talk about, like we were talking about dreams earlier. Like, dude, like, get Swisher House. You got still tipping, as music, man. Like, what's that like? Like you're tied together like that.
Yeah, heck yeah. My childhood friends that I grew up with create the merchandise for Swisher House. So that's where like the link came from.
Yeah.
But as far as like having the okay for it all, it came from G-Dash, the owner of Swisher House. Well, one of the owners of Swisher House. And I'm like, man, I would have never thought that I'd be that close with somebody of like legendary status when it comes to like Texas rap. Like Swisher House is big in Texas. And it's like, I see the guy all the time. And not only do I see him, I help create some of the merch too with the guys whenever I come through. And they invite me to community events all the time, or I even go out to like concerts and stuff like that. And it's like, I don't know. It's that period is like, I just literally was hanging out with them one day and was like, hey, wouldn't it be crazy to be sponsored by Switch House, to be a sponsored athlete? And my homie was like, you know what? Let's run it by G-Dash. Let's see what's up. Ran it by him. He said it's cool. And like, it was literally that easy. He said it was great. I put it in link in my bio, and like, not a lot of people thought I was really about it. They thought it was, wrestling's filled with people just talking themselves up a lot of the time.
Of course, right?
And don't really like, the talk don't really match the walk. But a lot of people thought it was fake. They thought, I was just BSing, like, oh, he's not really sponsored by Switch House. That's ridiculous. Maybe he's just staking his claim and he's wishing he was. But no, I'm certified. Like, they're sharing my stuff. I'm, at a community events with championships that I've won, and people are lining up taking pictures with me as like, oh, this is Switch House champion athlete Bryan Keith. And it's like, that's ridiculous. Like, that's a rap company. Who would have thought a rap company would be so cool enough to sponsor an athlete, and it could be opening up a window for a whole bunch of other things, not even just me as a professional wrestler. It could be.
That's what's going on in my mind. And it also makes me think, like with you at community events, think of the kiddos, in those communities that get to reach out, touch, talk, visit, with a professional wrestler, man, that's just out there killing it.
Thank you.
Like little baby Bryan Keith's running around out there, like I can do this too. Because that's a dream for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you live. You can live in a 3-story mansion. You can live in a, 2-bedroom, little trailer park.
Yeah.
Like, people have dreams, and when you go out there and you do stuff like that, you give those kids permission to dream, and they can see themselves in you, and vice versa.
Yeah.
What's that music do to you, man, backstage? Like when you hear it hitting, like, is there a change that comes over you? Because one of the things I like to talk about with the MMA guys is like the transformation that takes place behind the curtain, and I think there's some similarities. Yeah. What's going on in your head? Pre-match, what's going on?
Yeah, like, man, I'm getting in the zone, like literally, and it's literally leading up to that. I wouldn't say that I'm not in the zone. I'm just like usually stretching, trying to get myself limber and like able to do whatever it is I'm about to do for whatever amount of time I'm about to do it for. But once the song hits, it's literally like you said, it's like a switch. It's like I literally become the bounty hunter Bryan Keith, man, and it's leaning towards. Lately, I've been a lot wilder in my matches. I've been a lot more bad guy in my match. So it's like, even like in those cases where I'm like being this bad guy, once it hits, it's literally a switch for real, for real. Like, I'm not even the same person. People will come to my merch table after I've wrestled and not even think they think I'm a different guy selling the merch. If I don't have my hat on, people don't even like, they don't even draw the comparison. I got my glasses on. They're probably just like,
are you approachable?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah,
right, so
post match, all the time.
Out.
Yeah, whether I'm a bad guy or a good guy, I like, I'm there to entertain. I'm a performer, so at the end of the day, I might yell at you and tell you to sit your behind down, but if you want to come over and buy some stuff from me, I'll be more than happy to sell some stuff. But I'm always approachable, always cool with the fans. I always repost stuff. I love when people take pictures with me because I like to repost those and just show people. It's not every day you can take a picture with one of your favorite wrestlers and they share it on their social media for everybody else to see.
And
Especially
people big league you too. Like that's
yeah,
the thing.
yeah, they do. They do it all the time. And it's wild to me because it's like, bro, I'm still a human. There's still interaction going on here. So why are you gonna? I don't know, crazy stuff. But well, I was gonna say what I love the most is whenever people have my merchandise on. Like they show up and they got like a shirt on. I'm like, bro, you got to take a picture with me, man, because like it's crazy.
That's a dream.
Yeah, it's literally a dream. I was watching Speedball versus Will Ospreay the other day in TNA. That match,
what
was
a match!
Fire match. Will go down as probably one of the best matches of our generation, definitely. And in the midst of this match, I'm so caught up watching. I peep to the side. There's a guy in the crowd with one of my shirts on. And I was like, what? That's a hell of a feeling. Not only am I watching one of the greatest matches of all time, I'm already on a high watching that. I look over and I'm like, who would ever thought that I'd have something that I created, an idea, literally from my brain in collaboration with my merch guys and stuff. And here it is on national television right there in front of me. Like that's
dream worthy.
It's not every day. It's like as if I was Polo Ralph Lauren and I was watching a video and I was like, oh, that guy got my shirt on, like
you got the horse.
Yeah, yeah,
he got
exactly. Like it's a great feeling, man. It's really crazy. And speaking of merch, like that's been great lately. The fact that I've been coming up with different ideas for my merchandise. I try not to print too many of the same things all the time because I like people to feel like what they get is special from me. So I usually print things like in 50 or 100. And then once I sell that 50 to 100, it's gone. It's never coming back unless I change the color scheme of it or something like that. So lately I've just been collaborating with a lot of good artists and a lot of my merch guy is Cheapo Grosso on Instagram and Twitter. He's the guy that I work with in collaboration as far as making my merchandise. And it's been received so well. It's ridiculous, man. He met up with me in Seattle. We dropped a T-shirt recently with like a sun. It's me with the poncho, and there's a big sun behind me, a Western, kind of like a little spaghetti Western type T-shirt on a salmon colored T-shirt. And I was thinking, man, I'm going to go salmon just because rest of the T-shirts are always white and black. I'm going to try something different, just to see if people like it. And literally, he met me in Seattle with a box full of T-shirts because I was going to sell what I could there, take the rest with me for the rest of the weekend.
You didn't have nothing
Sold
left.
a whole box there, and I was like, oh, dog, I would have never thought, like, that. And then not only did I sold the whole box, we had pre-orders open, because he had he opens the store for the pre-order so that people can, get them at the same time that people are getting them while I'm selling them on tour and stuff like that. And the pre-order was like over 70 pre-orders. And I was like, man, this is like, it's a blessing, man. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's tough, of dreams. And I like what you're saying too. It's because like both of y'all end up winning in that situation, right? Like you give his artwork a platform, but then he provides you, with the beautiful visual so that people can wear your merch and support it. And like, it's nice. We can all win, right? Something Kiefer and we keep saying, rising tide raises all ships.
That is true, man.
And if we could think more like that, like collab more and this, that, and the other, like it'd be a much better world.
Yeah, honestly. And it just keeps the energy high, man. Like it's good for life. You keep your vibrations high, you're happy. You don't have to worry about being around other people who are miserable. Some people just love being miserable and just
they want some company.
Yeah. Nah, I ain't
stay
trying
the
to
hell
like
away
that.
from me.
I'm trying to stay with, productive people, happy people, people that are doing something with their lives and stuff like that. It makes you feel good.
Okay, well, let's keep going down this dream thing. I feel like there's a theme that's emerging. Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon, man. You say you wake up one morning, and someone that you've grown up watching and admiring and, throwing your name out there,
Yeah, that was crazy, man.
What did that feel like?
My little brother was literally just blowing my phone up. I thought it was an emergency happening or something like that. And he's like, nah,
Daddy's
man.
in the hospital or something.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't want to hear that. But he's over here, man. Bryan Danielson just mentioned your name on a press conference, bro. And I'm like, bro, what? What are you talking about? Send me this. Sends me the link on Twitter, and it's just blowing up, going crazy. And Bryan Danielson is crazy, man. I am a spiritual guy. You know this. We know this. I believe in God. And it's almost as if I'm like, man, God has got my book. And he's just like, you know what? Bryan would like this. Bryan would like this. You know what? let me change that. Let me put it like this because I think this will be best for him. You know, and it's Bryan Danielson has literally been such an influence on my career, or even just the way I watch wrestling since I was young. Like he was my introduction to Japanese professional wrestling. He was my introduction to catch as catch can wrestling or the UK style based of wrestling, any type of independent wrestling. Period. Bryan Danielson was my guy, and even growing up, like so I met him once. The only time that Ring of Honor had a show in Houston at the time, they did it in the George R. Brown Convention Center. It was me and Vega. We went. We're in the main event's happening, and we're in the crowd. And I see Bryan Danielson over to the side watching by himself. I got this PWI magazine with Bryan in it, and I'm like, man, I need his autograph. Excuse me. I was like, I need his autograph. So I'm like, telling Vega, all right, I'm gonna go get his autograph. I walk over. I talk to him for a little bit. He was like, yeah, I'll sign it for you. Not only did he sign it for me and him are just like chopping it up. We ended up watching the whole main event, and he's talking to me after the show and everything too. So it was like, here I am meeting my hero, getting his signature, finding out that he's a cool dude and an approachable dude, and that's my first encounter with him. Second encounter was I went and did the WWE work with him. With WWE, he was backstage about to come. He was in Gorilla, about to go out, and I want to say he was either coming back from injury or was before. I think he just came back from injury. And I talked to him and expressed to him then how much it meant for me to, see him come back from his injury and just be there performing and let him know how much he meant to me as far as influence and all that. And then same thing happened again when I went to AEW. I went to AEW when I wrestled Hangman, and I saw him backstage, and then he told me, same thing that he said on the press conference. So he was like, told me in person before he even said it on the press conference. He told me this in person. I've seen your matches on YouTube. I really like your style. I think you really got something going. All that, everything that he said on the press conference was what he told me. Maybe like I think a couple of weeks before, or a month before, or something like that. The Hangman Page match, pretty much. I met him backstage, and he told me that. And I expressed to him, bro, I know you probably don't remember me because you meet so many people, but I have had so many interactions with you in a lifetime. It's ridiculous, and it's like everything's meant for a reason. So for him to be saying those words on that press conference, this is a post Antonio Inoki's life celebration. I got no business being mentioned, on this. They're celebrating the life and the career of Antonio Inoki, a guy that I also draw heavy influence from. And here he goes and he mentions my name, and the internet just blew up. And a close friend of mine in wrestling was like, well, you know what you got to do now? And I'm like,
Yeah, you do.
What you mean? And he's like, you got to call him out. And I was like, what are you talking about? So,
Try to get his autograph.
yeah. I got it once before, but I didn't get it the way I wanted it. So, that's just the thought of me being able to have that match with Bryan Danielson and live that moment. Like it'd be an honor. It'd be a blessing. It'd be God writing my story exactly the way, even if I don't get to wrestle him, God's going to write a great story for me anyway. But if that happened, it would be like honestly, a mind-blowing moment. I wouldn't even believe it. I'd be like, this is crazy this is happening.
Well, you had the call out, right? Now you've respectively
exactly. I
called him
like
out.
how you said that, respectively,
Yeah, man.
A lot of people, sometimes they call people out and they go crazy for the jugular. And it's like, no, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you've done. I just want to see the American Dragon that I know you are. I want to put it to the test.
Want to shake your hand before and I'll shake your hand afterwards.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Well, hey, man, I will offer my services as a jiu-jitsu black belt to help train you for the American Dragon.
Please do.
If you ever get that going, man. But Bryan, hey, man, holla at my boy, man.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm on the hunt, man. I'm dragon hunting.
Hey, and the bounty.
Heck yeah.
It's high, man. Well, like, I'm extremely proud of you, for chasing your dreams and, just calling your shot, making these things happen. I think, we're having a conversation about wrestling, but I really feel like this conversation is leaning more towards like, man, chase your dreams because you never know, like when you knock on a door, who's going to answer. And if you don't knock, which many people don't,
no,
you ain't going to get no answer. But it's like you keep knocking and sometimes they don't open, sometimes they do open.
Yeah.
And some really cool stuff is, started to occur. Like, what does the future hold? What are you wanting to do over the next, let's say, like, 1 to 3 years, because you got your best years ahead of you, man.
Yeah.
Like I feel like your experience, your journey, your story. You just had your fourth child, so I think you're even a little extra hungry, to fill these bounties.
Yeah.
Like,
Definitely.
mama and baby's gotta eat.
Yeah, heck yeah, heck yeah. So, man, like I said, I'm a big fan of Japanese professional wrestling. It's always been my dream to perform in Japan. And like I feel that I can't have I can't stake the claim that like, okay, I wrestle a Japanese professional wrestling style if I've never been trained specifically from those people or even wrestled over there on that soil. So that's definitely like the next goal for me is to
Get overseas
and wrestle more in Japan. I'm going to Mexico this week coming up. Been to Canada a little bit, and I've loved to wrestle anywhere else around the. Actually, got offered recently to wrestle in the UK next year coming up. I can't say what company or anything like that, but if people keep the eyes out there, I'll be out there in the UK early this year coming up. But Japan is definitely the place I want to go, the place I want to
It's
be.
an itch you want to scratch.
Yeah, I got to go over there. I got to get the Ribera jacket. I got to go to Totocon to pop
And
some
the steak.
tags. yeah, I got to. Man, it's crazy. Didn't even get to mention that whenever I was at AEW, I met one of my heaviest influences of all time when Japanese professional wrestling, Toshiaki Kawada. He was there for WrestleCast or something. It was something in the same city as AEW was in. And I was bummed because I was like, well, I'm here at AEW. Of course I can't go to that thing. I'll never even get to meet him. This is the only time he's been to the US since the 90s or 80s or something like that. So I was like, oh man, I'm kind of bummed. I'll never even get to meet him. I'm backstage getting ready for the AEW stuff, and in the midst of that, Eddie Kingston is backstage. He just came from he had
Mad King.
Yeah, he had a kind of like they call it like talk battles or something like that. Kind of like what we're doing right now. Sitting down, you shoot the shit, like
Chopping it up.
Chopping it up, yeah, exactly. And they had that going on. After that, he goes to AEW and brings Toshiaki Kawada with him. I was able to meet him, shake his hand, express to him how much of an influence he's been on my career. And I was like, bro, life is wild. You know, here's this guy from Japan, miles and miles away from where I am. And I would only probably be able to meet him in Japan and express those things to him in Japan. But no, he came to where I was at. So it was that was crazy, man. Just my life is filled with just moments like that, just random things happening, like, you know.
Well, it's cool that you have the awareness to sit back and enjoy them while they're occurring, because sometimes people don't. You know, they're too worried about like the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, and it seems like you're very grounded and you're very focused and aware of the cool things that are happening right now, man. And I think that's like the secret sauce to life. Like, quit worrying about down the road. Like, definitely worry about it, right? But like, shit, that's some pretty cool stuff happening.
It's always pretty
right
cool
now,
stuff happening.
You know, I was just in the ring with Hangman, right?
Yeah,
like,
I just wrestled in the Mall of America. WCW's the only company,
right?
Yeah, WCW's the only company that's ever wrestled in the Mall of America. And with First Wrestling, they ran there not only once. This is the second time. They're running a third time in Mall of America. So that's crazy too, to be wrestling in Mall of America on a big stage like that.
Well, what kind of schedule are you pushing, man? Because it's like you in Chicago one night.
Yeah, I'm
Minnesota.
everywhere all the time, man.
What's that like?
I'm the one booking it all, and honestly, whenever I get these bookings, as long as the day's open, I'm saying yes. But I know nothing about geography, so I'm never like, oh, it's gonna take me this long to get there, or that's a plane ride from this there to there. I'm literally living it as it's happening, and I'm like, oh crap, I probably should have booked this way, but here we are, gang, I'm getting on this plane. Like, it happened like that recently. I wrestled in Chicago and then had a booking in LA. Well, that was just this weekend, LA. So I'm like, wrestled in Chicago. The show in LA was a little earlier, so I had to get on a red eye from Chicago to go straight to LA, and I'm just sleeping on the plane. And I get there. As soon as I get there, I get me some breakfast at the not at the hotel, but at the airport. Then we're driving to the venue, and I'm getting ready for the next show. And then that happened. The next day, I had to go to St. Louis, Missouri. Same situation. Got on the red eye. Went to St. Louis, Missouri. Wrestled there. And then here I am. I just got home literally hours ago. My parents picked me up from the airport 3 a.m. this morning. And I got home and relaxed a little bit, stuff like that. And here we are now. But
I appreciate you making time for
oh,
that.
no problem, man. No problem, man. If I could fit it, the thing is fitting it into the crazy schedule. You know, a lot of people think I'm trying to, like, you know,
does it feel like you're living a dream?
Definitely. I'm in the midst of living the dream. Like, everything's happening so much, and I have so much things to do. I have no choice but to take in the now. You know, I have to like live in the now and like take everything day by day, hour by hour, because it's like there's so much to do, or I got such a list of things to do, or things that I need to do, or that I'm thinking about doing. I have no choice but to just relax, because sometimes it gets overwhelming. It gets like, I'm like, oh, how am I gonna do this, or how am I gonna make that happen, or even with the travel that we were talking about right now, how am I gonna do this? I hope I don't miss this flight or this connection, or I got no choice but to be like, you know what, God, take the wheel. Here I am. We're gonna get going where we can, and I'm always gonna constantly do the best I can to get, whatever I got to do, I'm gonna do the best I can. So,
Man, I'd love to encourage you, man, and I think this would be a really cool idea because like you're living a lot of professional wrestlers' dreams right now with this crazy pace that you're pushing. It'd be really cool, just to put a little journal together of just what it's like being you and chronicle it over a year, and
yeah,
produce it as a book, just so
that's a
people
great
could
idea.
see. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
man,
a great
like
idea.
you're going from city to city, show to show. Some nights are hardcore matches, other nights, they're technical masterpieces,
Yeah,
pieces like Timothy Thatcher. Like,
yeah,
but to chronicle it and to document it and then to share it, with the world would be, I think, a beautiful idea. And I think
yeah.
a lot of people would sign up to buy that book.
I agree, man. I should definitely do that. I had a book. There's a guy named Chris Charlton that does commentary for New Japan.
Mm.
He has a brother named Matt Charlton. That guy he does books about professional wrestling. He does illustrations with them and stuff. So recently he did like a road diary with me, Royce Isaacs, Tom Lawler, and two other Joshis from Japan. And with the road diary, he had illustrations in it, and it did really well as far as like selling and things like that. But I think it's a huge market for people wanting, that type
Especially
of
in your story
yeah.
too, man, because you have a ton of support, and I don't know if you're able to realize it because you're so close to it, but like the whole hashtag sign Bryan Keith, like that went nuts, man. Like
That was wild.
people believe in you not only because of your talent, man, but your moral fabric. Like you're a good guy. You're a family man. Yeah, you're out there as the bounty hunter, man, but you're a good human being, and people want to see you succeed.
Thank you.
Not just for your talent, but for who you are as a human.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that a book like that with your thoughts and maybe the things you struggle with, the things that you're proud of, and just moment by moment, like,
Yeah.
dude, I think that'd be a effing banger.
Yeah,
boy.
no, that's a great idea. Heck yeah. Yeah.
Oh
I
man,
need to
well,
get that going.
let's what are three people that you'd like to get out there and mix it up with? We've already talked about the American Dragon. That goes without saying. You want to wrestle your hero,
Definitely.
and hopefully you're listening.
Yeah.
Respectively
Yeah.
calling you
respectively.
out, man.
Yeah, heck yeah, heck yeah.
But who are three people though you'd like to get in there with? That
There's a lot. It's a long list of people, but I'll throw like three out there and like
and why? And why do you want to get in there with them?
okay, yeah, heck yeah, let's do that. Let's go with I'm gonna say one of them is a guy named Ishii that wrestles with New Japan.
Oh, the Stone Pitbull.
Stone Pitbull.
Oh,
I feel like his aura is like everything that I try to, emulate. When he comes out, he may not be the biggest guy, and he's not the fastest, not the strongest. But when he comes out, that song hits, you hear the dogs barking, you in for like a hell of a match. And it don't matter who he's in there with. He could be in there with anyone. It's gonna be a 5-star classic. And I draw like heavy influence from him and guys like him. It's crazy because I just wrestled Masato Tanaka. He would have been one of these guys that I mentioned right now.
You
but
already
I wrestled
checked
him
the
already. Yeah, check the box off. But Ishii would be one of the guys because I draw heavy influence from him, and he just has that aura about himself that I always try to portray. Because I'm not the biggest guy. I'm not the fastest. I'm not the strongest. I don't do a bunch of flips or anything
but
like
your
that.
persona
Yeah.
makes you look like you're 6'5",
Thank you.
300
Thank you.
pounds.
Yeah, and I just got that Texas. I'm gonna come in there and I'm gonna kick your ass. Feel.
Texas strong style.
I want people to feel that, and I feel like he's got that aura. He's got the Japanese strong style versus Texas strong style. That'd be a hell of a match. So it'd be Ishii. I was gonna say Tanahashi, but I don't want to just end up mentioning a bunch of just Japanese talents from New Japan. So let me mix it up a bit. I'll
Mix it
go maybe Finn Balor, WWE.
Why Finn?
Finn is a guy that I've watched forever. I remember the first time I saw Finn Balor wrestle, and I thought, like, bro, this is the perfect wrestler. Like, everything he did was so crisp, freaking to the, like, almost whenever I saw AJ Styles wrestle for the first time. So maybe that'd be a double. Maybe they're both in the same slot, AJ Styles or Finn Balor. I'd like to wrestle either one of them because both of them, everything they do is so crisp, so perfect, so to the letter.
And Styles dethroned him on the Bullet Club too, right?
Yeah, he's in the Bullet Club. He's
So
in the Bullet
they're
Club. Yeah, I'm
tied.
trying to get in there too, man. They got the Bounty Hunter with the Bullet Club. That'd be perfect, man.
They could use that.
That'd be perfect, man. And then maybe that third person is
someone in AEW,
right? Somebody in AEW. Oh, it's got to be Kingston. It's got to be.
You want
Kingston.
the Mad King?
You know what? It's either Kingston or another double slot here. Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe is the man. I'd love to wrestle Eddie Kingston, and Eddie Kingston is definitely a dream match for me, but Samoa Joe is like legendary, you know? Not that Eddie Kingston's not, but just Samoa Joe and what he's done, what he means to me, and the influence on me. I learned about Eddie Kingston later on in my career, like whenever I was an older wrestler, so he didn't really like, foundationally, I wasn't really watching Eddie Kingston to grow up and be a better wrestler.
Yeah.
I was foundationally watching Samoa Joe, seeing him wrestle on TNA, seeing him wrestle on the Indies, Ring of Honor stuff. He's a guy that definitely influenced my style and the way I wrestle. So yeah, it'd be I go Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, and then Ishii.
Hey man,
I lock those in.
Hope we got some insurance.
Man,
right.
As a hell. And with my luck, I'd get them all three in one weekend.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy, man. But yeah,
tell me, like, what is the master plan? Like, what is the end goal? Like, if we could write this story and it just end absolutely perfect for the Bounty Hunter, how does it end? Does it end with the New Japan contract? You know, part of the Bullet Club? Is it, you know, hey, let me come over here to AEW and show these boys what's up.
right.
Let me go, you know, to WWE. And like, what do you want?
There's a professional wrestler, Minoru Suzuki, greatest of all time. Guy who's done everything for fundamentally like the perfect professional wrestler. I feel like he's a freelancer technically, so he'll wrestle for New Japan, he'll wrestle for Noah sometimes, he'll wrestle anywhere he wants. But I feel like he's such a great wrestler, and he's so well respected that he's allowed to do that. Everybody just wants to see him wrestle, so he's always able to. Every door is always open to him, no matter where he's going. WWE will take him any day. You know, he just wrestled for AEW a couple of weeks back or a month ago and stuff like that. But not only is he a great professional wrestler, he's an older gentleman. So it's like for him to have done what he's done in his career lifetime for so long, he's like 50-something, still doing it at a high level. That's what I want for my career. I want to be a guy who's well respected amongst my peers, professional wrestlers, known to have high caliber matches at any given moment in my career and still do it in my 50s, 60s, and then be able to take what I've done and just, you know, be able to provide for my family, you know, like whatever it is in their dreams, my kids, whatever they want to do, I want them to do it at a young age. So if my daughter wants to be a chef when she grows up, well, baby girl, let's go find one of the best chefs we got around in the area and get you going early so that you can feed. You know, when I was young, my parents they didn't have the opportunity to be able to take me to wrestling practice or professional wrestling school or anything like that. I did all that on my own. I got a job, paid for wrestling school, you know, either took the bus or found ways to get driven to professional wrestling school. And it's like, I want to be able to create those opportunities for my kids, and not just for my kids, but for other kids. I'd like to open up a facility that's like a YMCA type deal to where if kids want to be any, you know, I was 8 years old knowing that I want to be a professional wrestler. If somebody was to be able to put me in the setting where I could learn all of that quicker, maybe I'd be where I'm at a lot quicker. Yeah. Nothing wrong with my journey. It's just that I want to have that accessible for kids because sometimes people just don't have that opportunity.
Well, it's a career path, right? It's a serious career path.
Heck yeah. And people don't take it as that. And I want people to just understand that, like, hey, whatever it is in your heart that God put on your heart, that's a career path for you. As long as it's not hurting nobody or, you know, like making the world a worser place, as long as it's something positive, let's do it. Let's make it a thing. So whether you want to be a baker, lawyer, you know, dancer, come to this facility. We got the best guys in the area that are pros at that, and you'll be able to learn from them firsthand. And I would like to have that as like a kind of like a YMCA community center type deal for me.
That'd be cool.
You know? Yeah, that maybe even have like a burger place too eventually. You know, because I'm a huge fan of burgers. I'm a burger guy. That's my thing. Like my favorite food is like brisket, burgers. You know, like that's like top two. So I'd like to have like a food joint or something like that. But all of those things, the food place or the community center for the kids. I liked all of that to be possible because of the professional wrestling career that I've had throughout my career. Just excel so hard at this career that I'm able to create different avenues and different opportunities for everybody else around me. So that's in the long run, that's what I'd like.
That's one hell of a dream.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
We'll end on this. Like, let's spit some game and throw a couple of nuggets of wisdom out there for young, aspiring wrestlers, because I think it's really easy to get caught up in the glitz and the glamour.
Yeah.
And it's a long, hard road.
It's a long road, man.
A lot of nights where you're probably not making what you think you should make, but you take it, smile, grin, and move on to the next one. What are 3 pieces of advice you could give to up and coming and aspiring professional wrestlers?
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the Booker T number 1. Stay ready so you ain't got to get ready, and that means stay ready as in stay in ring shape. Make sure you're not eating nothing crappy. Stay on your diet. Stay mentally ready. A lot of people, they got so much going on in their life and they keep trying to push. But it's like, you got to understand you're a human being. You can only take so much. So it's like, be aware of, don't mess up your life trying to do something that you feel like you just have to do. Sometimes you need a break. Take a break. Relax. Like some people, they'll know like, oh, like, I'm going through so much stress, but I'm going to still have this match this weekend because I got to have this match. Like, nah, bro, maybe you just take a step back. You're going to mess around and drop somebody on their head, or worse, mess yourself up or paralyze somebody or something like that. Like,
that's just good advice for anyone.
Yeah. You got to.
Any walk of life, any profession. Like what you just said right there that's great stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like people don't really understand how much stress as human beings we take in daily. We take in a lot of stress, and it's good stress and bad stress, but it's like it just builds up, and a lot of the times you just need to take a step back and just make sure that you can, whatever's required of you at that moment, make sure that you can fully give it your all within that moment. So that's that. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. I'd say number 2, something that worked for me is like, every day do something that's going to help you be a better professional wrestler, whether it's like eating right, working out, social media stuff, because social media is a huge part of professional wrestling. A lot of people downplay that as far as like how much that has to go along with it, but you got to get your name out there. You got to get a fan base. So I dedicated at least like an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon for social media, just like posting stuff, replying back to people, just, I guess, making sure that you have something for people to attach themselves to, or see themselves through, or just be able to follow and stuff like that. People really just don't put in that. I guess like
it's almost like that for everything. Like if you're an aspiring, college football player, like you got to get your film out there so that the coaches can see it. Like it don't take a million coaches to see. It just takes the right one coach to see it. Next thing you know, boom.
Yeah.
You're getting offered something because of, just a piece of film that they watched.
Yeah. And people downplay that. They downplay how much, like you said, it only takes one person to see that. They downplay how much that opportunity, it's like, all you have to do was create the effort and the work that it took to get that footage out there. So just do it. A lot of people, they just, I don't know, but I can't speak on other people's situations. But a lot of time, I guess people, sometimes they just don't see themselves capable of it. But you got to do it every day. Find something that's going to get you towards being a better professional wrestler, because there's so many people out there trying to be professional wrestlers. It can only be so much on TV, or, and TV ain't even the end all be all. Thank God here I am. I'm not consistently on TV like that, but as an independent professional wrestler that I am now, I'm able to provide for my family and have great success. So, don't think that, if you're not on TV or not signed, it's the end of the world. It's not. There's success out here.
You're happy. You're making enough
I'm
money
happy.
to take care of your family.
It's perfect. And my fans are happy. The promoters are happy. Like this, it's amazing. So, and then third piece of advice would be, if for younger guys, definitely shut up sometimes. Shut up and just listen. A lot of these dudes, they becoming like, I'll go to practice and you'll see young guys teaching other guys. Not that you can't be teaching other guys stuff, but they're over here breaking. They'll pull another guy to the side and be like breaking stuff down that they could have did better, or like giving them a lesson or something. It's like, bro, you just started like a couple of months ago, a couple of weeks ago or something like that. Like, humble yourself and realize that you're coming in here to learn something. Who are you to like pull some guy over to the side and be like teaching this guy? He's on the same level as you. You know, you need to be able to find somebody. I was always taught whenever you got into wrestling, keep your mouth shut and your ears open. Always be open to listen to something, you know, as long as it's a veteran worth listening to. Because sometimes there's some vets out there that like they call themselves vets, but they only been wrestling like 10 times a year. They're not even wrestling consistently like that, and they're just like they don't even respect themselves. They're not working hard enough or doing anything to have the respect of an actual veteran. But you know, as long as you got a guy that's like respectful and you respect him and they've been somewhere, a guy like Booker T, you know, like you'll have guys come in, Book will be talking, and like maybe somebody's in the back talking while he's talking. And it's like, bro,
that still happens even like with the two-time Hall of Famer right there.
It happens all the time, man. And Booker has to be like, hey, who the hell is back there talking? And it's like, bro, like, why are you talking right now while this is happening? It makes no sense at all.
It's like, a generational thing, man. These young cats are different.
It's like that. It's like that. And a lot of the time it has something to do with like attention spans, I guess. You know, we're always on the phone. So I guess if what he's saying right now doesn't pertain to you, you're just like off doing something else. But I always went with like, okay, this is what I want for my life, for my career. This guy has been there, seen that, done everything there is to do in that career. So why wouldn't I be mouth shut, ears open, listening to every single thing that he is saying at all times? And I feel like, honestly, that's where a lot of my success comes from, is like shutting the hell up and listening. And then I listen and I take those things in. And now whenever I'm out in the world, in the environment, I'm drawing from those toolboxes of all the things that I've heard him say or all the other vets that I've come across heard say at all times. And that's why it always comes across as like, man, Bryan Keith's really good, or Bryan Keith's a hell of a worker. And it's like, no, Bryan Keith is just a great listener. He's a great listener that humbles himself at all times and realizes that I'm not the best I could be. I'm not the best, you know. Thank God I was #1 black professional wrestler in the world recently. They added that, and I was like 106.
102, I think, on
PWI. 102 on PWI. But I always tell myself, okay, that may be the case, but there's something I can do better. Always, you know, there's
100%.
Always something I can do better, and a lot of people have to realize that. They got to humble themselves and just be like, hey, you know, like, what is it that you got to do to be the best you can be, and realize that once you're that best you can be, that's still not the best you could be. There's more you can do.
It's
so
another level.
Yeah, always another level. So yeah.
Well, man, we're at the end of the podcast, man. This is the part where, you know, we tell people where they can find you, find your merch, find your social media, let them know.
Yes, sir. I'm Bryan Keith with a Y on Facebook. Bounty Keith, like the bounty, like the toilet paper, on Instagram and Twitter. And the link in my bio is Cheapo Grosso. That's my merch guy. He is an Etsy store, and he sells all my merchandise. You can find everything Bryan Keith related on there. If not, if you don't get it from there, find me in person. And I always got it on me, like, you know, the old school guys back in the day, switching house straight out the trunk. I got it on me all the time, dog. So yeah, let me know, man.
Man, well, like I said, extremely proud of you. It's really cool watching your journey.
Thank you.
Just seeing you up here in the Woodlands, man. You know, like that tells me, like, you know, you moving in the right direction, man. Like you doing what's right for the family, man. So anything, you know, you need, you have a friend in me.
Thank you.
And just keep doing what you're doing, man, because it's working.
Thank you.
It's working. My overnight success, 15 years in the making.
Oh yeah, you know, man. You know, I've been grinding, man. What you can do for me is
anything.
Every Tuesday, we got advanced practice at Booker's. Maybe you come down and roll around with us a bit on a Tuesday if you got a Tuesday for free.
Let me. We just started basketball season, man. But let me come up on I think we'll have a Thanksgiving break. And then a Christmas break, and I'll be up there. And after basketball season and after track season, man, I always volunteer my services.
For sure. Heck yeah, I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Ready, man. Well, hey, it's Coach Chris Ortiz. We got the Bounty Hunter, BK Bryan Keith, man. Y'all take care. Have a blessed day, and go out and be that someone.
Lights, camera, session. Use a flow molasses. Blue to line my fashion. Future frightening glasses. Applause from the masses.
This is the Be Someone Podcast.